Good morning. Today is Wednesday, February 22nd, and this is Devotions from St. Paul Evangelical Lutheran Church in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I'm going to take a passage today from Matthew's Gospel, and I think it's a passage that a lot of people know or know about, and it talks about how we do things and why we do things for God. So this is from the 6th chapter of Matthew's Gospel. Beware of practicing your piety before others in order to be seen by them, for then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. And whenever you pray, do not pray like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, so that they may be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. When you are praying, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. So when you pray, pray in this way: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And do not bring us to the time of trial, but rescue us from the evil one. Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moths nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Jesus used a number of examples, and I've used only the one about prayer. He used examples about alms and fasting in the same fashion. But I think that the bottom line for all of them comes with the very last line that I read in this passage. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Jesus didn't say that all these things, alms and prayer and fasting, are bad. In fact, I think he thinks they're good things. But it's why we do them, who we do them for, and what our intent is that is important in all of this. Now, it's obvious that in the prayer section that I read, I used what we now call the Lord's Prayer in the Matthew version. And if you look at that prayer, it's not about the person praying, but it's about God and what He gives us. Because as it said, what Jesus told the disciples, God already knows what we need before we ask Him. Now, I have some issues with some of these things. We use corporate prayer in service all the time. And with all kinds of meetings that we have and activities that we go through in our church life, we start with a corporate prayer. So somebody prays out loud for everybody else that's there. I don't know that that's the caution either. I think of those as good things because it reminds all of us who are in those activities we're doing them for God, for Jesus. And so I think it's right to call upon Him to be with us as we go through those processes. But I think the prayers that the Pharisees and the hypocrites were criticized for were the individual prayer, just the look at me prayers. I pray all the time, and I pray out loud, and I pray in long sentences and long prayers, and you know that God hears me because of it. But Jesus says those kinds of prayers already have their reward from all the people that are standing around listening. And you can make your own judgment about what that reward is. But instead, in this prayer section, Jesus says, go into your closet. Be by yourself with God. Speak to God. And I don't know that he actually says it, but I think the most important part is to listen to God and do it in private. And so we have both kinds of prayers that are useful and good. But for the individual talking to God prayers, do it by yourself. You don't even have to say it out loud. You can just walk along or sit along or kneel on your knees and talk to God. Just the two of you, just the two of us. Who's the audience? Who are you trying to impress? Who are you asking for help? Who do you expect to answer your prayer? I think that's what Jesus is saying here. And I think it's kind of a slap upside the head and says, think about it. If you're going to get a real response to your prayer, you're going to get it from God. You're not going to get it from the people around you. Not the kinds of things that we need to pray about. Only God can do that. And so take it directly to God and do it privately. And understand it's you and God. It's important to speak to God. It's important to listen to God. It's important to know that the communications is meant for God. It seems to me we can fool each other, and sometimes we can even fool ourselves. But there's no way that we're going to fool God about what our intent is when we pray. And so I think it behooves us to be realistic, to be very hard on ourselves about how and why we pray, and be real when we say, I intend this prayer for God, and mean it. I think that's important. It's part of our relationship through Jesus to God. It's an important part. I hope you'll take this to heart. I hope you'll think about it a little bit. I hope you'll pray to God and ask for Him to tell you what He thinks about your prayer life and about all the other aspects of your relationship with He and Jesus. But I also hope you'll take a hard look on your own, just like I have to do on a daily basis, and understand this is private, this is personal, this is me and God, and this is really important. Thank you.